Welcome to the Chi for Two podcast. We're a group of Chi for Two embodiment coaches that look at pop culture with a Chi for Two lens. I'm Chelsea.
I'm Fred.
I'm Carly.
I'm Cass.
And this is the Chi for Two podcast. What is Chi for Two?
It is a mindful embodiment method.
Chi is the life force in and around our bodies.
And for two, calls attention to how two-person relationships affect the life force energy around our bodies.
Oh, let's get into this because this is very new language for the world.
Absolutely.
And this is something we have all been studying for years now with Dee Wagner, one of the originators here in Atlanta. And here we are coming together with all this knowledge that we have that we want to share with the world because it's really helped our healing journey and we want to help others. So let's talk about the science of Chi for Two.
Where to start? So Chi for Two, talking about the life force in and around the body, that also means how our nervous system is affected, all the biochemistry. When we move around in the world, we're affecting the waves, around us, the air, and all the things that we can't see. So scientifically, there is a life force in and around our body. It sounds kind of woo-woo, maybe, but it is actually there and verifiable, provable, scientific. It exists. And when we interact with another person, that affects our nervous system. That affects our biochemistry. And it's so wild to think about how, the therapeutic relationship, if you go to school as a helping professional or don't, but if you do, they talk about the therapeutic relationship in and of itself being healing, but not necessarily digging into the depth of that. And with Chi for Two, we have a really mindful understanding of how it is affecting the body to have that therapeutic relationship and how that can lead to healing multi-generational trauma. So I think it's really cool.
Well said.
Yeah. To pick up on that, the party line that we're taught, Chi for Two is a mindful trauma healing methodology. It has 40 practices, 35 of which are for situations where there's a power differential, built-in power differential, and then the 5 that, as we know, are for 5 moves, 5 practices that are for instances where the power is equal. So those are like peers, our siblings, our romantic partners, and the first 35 are going to be for parents and their children, or it can be for employers and employees. We try to apply Chi for Two to everything. Chi for Two is life, life is Chi for Two. It's based on the polyvagal theory, made more commonly, widely known by Stephen Porges. It's a nerve that is in our bodies. It is regulated by various inputs. And so we have upper and lower, and feel free to chime in whenever you...
You're doing great. Yeah.
But, so we have the ventral vagus and the dorsal vagus, and different parts of the nerve are affected by different things, but the dorsal part, the lower part, is involved in our digestion. The upper part is involved in our breathing and swallowing, and these are essential things that happen in our bodies that are necessary for our living and survival. Did you want to?
I was just saying, like, the ventral is also facial expressions,
yes,
and tuning into voices with their middle ear muscle. And Dee talks about this all the time. The myelinated and unmyelinated
Part of the vagus.
yeah,
nerve,
and so it's hard to say. And it's with, like, words, what does that even mean? But it has, like, a myelinated as, like, a sheath. So that means that information can pass from the brain through this nerve in more nuanced ways. The breaking and releasing of signaling through the vagus nerve can sometimes have this rhythm that can help people feel really safe. Like, can you do the, like a reggae kind of thing? When we're feeling safe, and the breaking and releasing has this rhythm, we're able to coordinate breathing and swallowing. Yeah. And then that makes it possible to have a deeper breath. The pelvic floor can lower and we can breathe more deeply. Mm-hmm. And that can allow digestion to happen at a good natural pace. Yeah.
Some sound
and
effects.
allowing for resting and digesting.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
need that.
We do.
We need that to
So it
thrive.
used to be that we thought that there was just two sort of not nervous system states. We talk about it a little differently in Chi for Two, but fight, flight, and shut down. Lots of people have heard of those. And that there was this idea that it would, I don't have a map with me.
I have a map in here somewhere. I'll pull
You
it out.
do. We'll find it.
That we're just trying to get in the middle of there. But, which is crazy making. Because really, fight, flight, and shut down are when your body doesn't feel safe. So it's saying, okay, if those are the only two we have, then we're always going to feel unsafe. And the only way we will ever be able to move, so mobilize, is if something scares us and we have to run or something or fight it, which is just, So in Chi for Two and polyvagal theory, we understand that there is a third option called social engagement system functioning. And that is where we're able to be curious and playful and mobilize through what is called play dance. So instead of feeling scared, we're able to feel safe and move just because, well, I noticed that I'm thirsty and I reach for a drink. And it's not because I feel like I'm going to die without having that drink. I'm just noticing I could use one. And so I'm going to drink it. And I'm coordinating breathing and swallowing. So I can do that without choking.
Isn't that just like the craziest thing to think about is that if we listen to our bodies, like, whoa. Even what you were talking about, Cass, it's so interesting because D. Wagner talks about the pelvic floor lowering, ideally, on the inhale. And there's actually a practice, and maybe we'll get into it another time, called flow hands that brings attention to that. And I just very recently realized that when I inhale, your stomach is supposed to expand because you're bringing breath into your lungs. Mine does not. It's the opposite for me, which means that my pelvic floor is not lowering. And so just like having the mindfulness of that, like anatomically, like what you're bringing to this is really important and really interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Should we explore flow hands for a moment?
We
Just
can.
This
Yeah.
is the first Chi for Two
Yeah.
practice we can kind of show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not actually the best at explaining flow hands, and that's probably why, is because my body doesn't typically, it's supposed to, but
It's practice.
it's a practice.
So with flow hands, we might start with a hand right at the diaphragm. And sort of like we're turning a water wheel, like bringing one hand up and bringing one hand down. And imagining what it would be like if, when we bring one hand down, it might open up the diaphragm, lower the pelvic floor, and allow for a deeper breath. Or maybe it's not possible. And as you're doing that, also moving energy in front of your body.
Yeah.
What's it like to have space?
What's it like to have space? Yeah. This reminds me of when, you might be triggered out somewhere and you kind of need to save those feelings or those movements for later when you're home and in a safe place. So taking your flow hands and like bringing the energy down and waiting to release that later when you can in a space that feels good. And then later when you can, bringing those flow hands up, like bringing all that up and out if you can, or just, playing with the rhythm of that.
Yeah. Another good mindfulness exercise of where you're at
Yeah.
with your energy.
It might just feel super gross. I had a client who was like, I feel horrible doing that. I feel lightheaded and queasy, and I cannot even. So it's about checking in. It's not, we're leading through, like if you're listening to this and hearing this and thinking, you're leading me through a practice that's going to make me feel calm and good. And it's not really about trying to make you feel anything. It's seeing what you notice about your body.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's the key. I think taking the time to do that physical inventory to determine, okay, where am I? Physical and mental and emotional. And Chi for Two enables us to take that opportunity when we're being held or space is being held for us. But as coaches, when we hold space for others, we're able to enable that time. For me, during our certification, the class was that time every week for me to be able to kind of sit with myself and do that check-in, do the breath. Having the space to breathe is one of the huge key things that Dee talks about often in terms of being able to regulate your system if you have that space to breathe. Parents that are running back and forth with one child or more than one child, do they get a chance to kind of stop and do their own inventory for what it is they need? Oftentimes they don't. And so it is that opportunity when they come in front of us to say, hey, what, have you checked in on yourself, and then provide them tools to better hold space for their own children as well. So I'm just super grateful for Chief or Two. For sure.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Does that get us into maybe some stories about how we got here?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, go first.
Okay.
Go.
So it was around 2015 or so. Dee was in the process of developing a new methodology based on all of her many years as a therapist, all of the different methods that are out there. My partner at the time, she's my fiance now, was introduced to Dee, and Dee invited the two of us to come and interact with her and practice some of the sessions, or practice some of the moves. And in our session, we did a lot of the couples work, but Dee has recounted the story to say that our session with her made it clear that there were some power differential addressing that is necessary. In my case, it was the mother-son, dynamic that exists. And so she, with Stephen, worked on developing those practices. And so once I heard back, or, I kind of left, so to speak, and then had an opportunity to get back in contact with Dee. She invited me to the certification program. Was very, very much excited to take it. I was looking for my textbooks and my exams. How do I get all this knowledge into my mind? And quickly realized it was a time and embodiment issue, or something that takes that time to really feel into. It took me maybe 3 to 6 months in order to really have the light bulb come on. Once it did, I was all full steams ahead. I was all on board, right? And so realizing what it can do specifically for me, and having what I'll call food anxiety, and feeling hungry and sitting down to a meal and then not being able to, enjoy it. T for Two was able to help me really, work on doing that physical and emotional inventory. Why am I feeling this way? What can I do in order to feel more normal and be able to get back on track? And so flow hands was one of those practices actually that helped me with that. And I'm a testament. Chief of Two works, and I'd love to see as many people as possible come before us and our fellow coaches to get this tool to be able to better wake up on the right side of the bed and approach life in a more kind way, because we can regulate ourselves. So I will stop there.
That's awesome, friend.
Yeah. There is one thing that we haven't mentioned yet that we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about, which is the origins of chi.
Yes.
And the Eastern
Yes.
theories
Yes.
and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. The word chi is brought to us from Eastern Asian cultures. It does mean energy, and there is a much more dense and rich definition, and we are borrowing it, or Dee in her creation of Chi for Two has borrowed it, but it does go back to the Eastern Asian concept of just energy and life force. So we're happy to be able to nod to that culture and being, borrowing it for our methodology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the word that really we feel in our bodies when we do Chi for Two, and just kind of being able to honor that.
Yeah.
Where it comes from.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Thanks, Fred.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
My history with Chi for Two started when I was 15. My mom had just lost her mother and started to see Dee. I can't even remember how they really connected, but started to see Dee as her therapist. And at that particular time for myself, I was acting out as a crazy teenager and was in my first romantic relationship, which I know now, with Chief 2's help, that oftentimes unfinished infant-parent interactions we're trying to redo the things that we didn't get in those interactions with a romantic partner. That's very common, and so that's what was happening. And so I came into a couple of sessions with my mom and Dee, and so I'd known Dee for a really long time, just doing that work with her. And then I went to school. I got a business degree. I went out into the marketing world, and if anyone knows anything about me, that was not kind of the best environment for me, kind of being in a corporate setting. So I decided to go back to school to become a social worker. My mom's also a social worker. She was like, "You're so sensitive. Might not be the best." I was like, "I don't care. This is the work that I want to do." So I got my social work degree, and while I was in grad school was when Dee invited me to do my certification, my Chief 2 embodiment coach certification. And it's kind of funny just to hear you describe, Fred, like when you first started the certification program, being like, "Oh my God, I wanted textbooks." I was the opposite, because I had so many textbooks in front of me and I was already feeling overwhelmed with that. So I'm kind of also just that personality. It's like, I'm just going to sit here and I'm not going to understand every word, but I know that I'm going to absorb it. And that's kind of how it worked for me. You mentioned Stephen, and I just want to, for listeners, because I know that we haven't mentioned Stephen yet, Stephen is Dee Wagner's son, and he was my embodiment coach. And so I learned a lot of Chief 2, of course, through the certification that was taught by Dee and Stephen and Mary Lou, at least for my class, so Dee as originator, and then co-developer Stephen, Mary Lou, and Caroline. But Stephen was my coach, so that was like a really special relationship that I had. And anyway, once I graduated from my program, Dee was like, "Hey, we have Harbor of Dreams Art, which is kind of the home of Chief 2, and we'd love to have you be an embodiment coach for us." And so that's how I got to where I am.
Awesome. It's so funny to hear your mom say, you're so sensitive." Because it sounds like her own stuff coming up. And so the reason that you're able to do that work is because she could turn to Dee and bring that, fear for you that's really all her own stuff coming up. And then she can turn and if you have sensitivity and things like that coming up, that you're feeling overwhelmed by others and you don't have your strong hula hoop maybe, then you can push against your mom now, because you guys have done that work.
Thank you for saying that, because that is a part of the story that I did forget. So thanks for saying that. Yeah. I did my certification with my mom. She was in my class. So we kind of started Chief 2 before Chief 2 was even a thing, many, many years ago, and then kind of were able to continue our work in a more mindful way through that class. My mom does have a lot of, and we can kind of get into this a little bit more when we talk about the map, but like a lot of shutdown in inhibition of movement expression. I was the opposite. I was in fight flight. I was trying to throw stuff at her, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is way too much for me." She couldn't face me. And so the work that we've done is exactly what you said, Cass, which is so beautiful. Her being able to take all of her stuff, the inhibited movement expression, out of shutdown, throw towards Dee so that she can kind of be more stable and present for me as I throw my stuff. And she finally can face me, and I can push into her as hard as I want to, and I can throw stuff at her. And it's not always easy, I will say, but it's gotten a lot better. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, It's so cool. As I was talking about like the fight, flight, shutdown, social engagement system functioning, I forgot to mention the catching part. How do you even move through? That's what Chief 2 is all about, to feeling safe, and so that's what you're talking about with your mom. Who do we bring our big feelings to? So when we have a movement, like we have these 40 practices that are movements from early development that we do with our caregivers, and our nervous system is patterned, for what movement is safe to do, what's not safe to do with our caregivers. So if we are learning how to like sit up on our own, we have a practice called pelvic transitions. So that's just rocking back and forth like your pelvis is like a bowl, and forward and backwards. like a baby is learning how to sit for the first time. And ideally, there's like pillows all around and a caregiver who's excited and celebrating this new phase, and you're stacking the spine and holding up big, heavy baby head. And it can feel exciting. And then you have two hands and you can reach for things and play with stuff and hit them together and make sounds and explore. If you didn't get what was ideal, and many of us don't, then, and maybe there's a lot of crazy making stuff around you and people are not feeling safe in their bodies, caregivers and everything, it might feel necessary to self-support really fast. And like you have to do it or, it's not going to be okay. And so being able to do that movement again in session with the coach to get that symbolic redo of what was more ideal, then it might be possible to do those movements feeling safe. And then there's more movement vocabulary, being able to move as the person you would have been had you gotten what was more ideal. And shine your light and be a star. And that is possible through when a new movement is a movement that was inhibited before, that wasn't safe, awakens. It's laced with fight flight. Is this okay now? Is this not okay? And the coach there to catch and help work the fight flight through so that you can move through to social engagement, system functioning, and feel safe and do that movement in play dance.
100%.
Yeah.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want to share how you came to Chica Two?
Oh, being crazy. I started seeing D in my 20s, so I think it's been about 14 years. I came from a family with a lot of trauma. My mom, just a lot of abuse, and my dad from just a lot of shutdown. And I guess my mom and my dad got together. My dad was a little bit better than so they were able to give us a little bit better than what they got, but we still carry it in our bodies, me and my siblings. I have a twin sister and 2 older brothers. So I also have twin stuff. It's twin stuff. And you're, Carly.
My mom's a twin.
Carly's mom is a twin too. So it's fun. And your sisters.
Yes.
My sisters, my aunts, and my cousin had twins.
Yeah, we got lots of twins.
All 3 generations.
Nice. A lot of interesting stuff there. So coming from all that, I just had a lot of things. I think just a lot of my own stuff. Let's see. I think I was patterned to take care of men's big feelings at a young age, like take care of my dad, laugh at his jokes, and it's all very nice and it seems good when you're a kid, but as I got older, it made me kind of easy prey for people grooming me, and so I had some stuff there. Working through, when I got to my 20s, I was just like, wait, I'd like to have a healthy relationship, and I'd like to learn how to, I think the first thing I said, Dee was like, well, what brought you here? And I was like, I want to be nice to myself. I want to stop being mean to myself.
Me too, to this day.
It's so hard.
It is.
So hard.
And you're naturally doing self-hug, and I just want to point that out because that is a way that we comfort ourselves. Yeah. Putting a hand, or is it okay to put a hand where your body might need the most comfort?
Yeah. And you're doing some sway.
So, obviously that's still a bit raw.
Yeah.
But it's a tough one. So, I understand it through a Achiever 2 lens now, but, growing up it was when a movement awakened and there was fight flight, then I attacked myself instead of being able to direct it towards a parent or a therapist. So just a lot of attack self, and that's something I still work through to this day. But obviously in this room with all of you, I'm able to do self-hug, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And then I went to college for a history degree. Yeah, which I don't know. I was like, what am I gonna do with this? Fascinating stuff, really. And it really moves well into like therapy. It's what part of our multi-generational trauma is the history of society and our world. So it makes sense. And then I didn't know what I was going to do. So then I did decide to go back to school for a master's in counseling. And as I finished that, I was in the first training group for Chief or Two coaches with originator D. Wagner and co-developers Stephen Wagner and Mary Lou Davidson and Caroline Gebhardt. Yeah. And a couple other people. Those I wasn't the only one there, but I was there. I did a year. It was just at the beginning of COVID, and it was like, or no, was it? No, I don't know. No, it wasn't.
It was a little bit before COVID.
It was before that, but they were using Zoom, and it was before everybody was using Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm on camera, and this is messing me up. And I would just cry. I cried a lot.
A lot of crying.
I cried too,
Gosh.
don't worry.
But I was like a mess.
Yeah.
So I did a year, and I think after that year, that 2-year program, they solidified some stuff afterwards, some practices. I contributed runny egg. And
Tell us what runny egg is.
Oh, runny egg. I did my internship at a psych hospital with some teenagers doing inpatient stabilization, like self-harm and suicidal ideation and suicide attempts and things. So some pretty intense stuff. When they got there, they were doing lots of worksheets. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like they just some of these kids just tried to kill themselves. And they're doing a worksheet about it. And it just seems like this isn't enough. This is weird. And so in my body, I was like, I feel like melting into the floor. So I wondered if any of them, because it's sort of what, anyway, it's a story. Runny Egg is a story, a dramatization. Yes. Sometimes in our families or social systems, it might feel like we don't have room to be ourselves. We're squished into a tiny, 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 tiny mold, and there's just not enough room. And it could be like being stuck in an egg. And and eventually, it might be like, well, I kind of notice my yolk in there, my belly, and this is yuck, and I hate it. And I'm just gonna bust right out and throw my, my eggshell and all that.
Yeah.
But then there's no support. It's just melting into the floor, and I don't have room to melt all the way into the floor. But yeah, but which is a tragic story, because this is what many of those kids experienced. Mm-hmm. They finally burst and didn't have the support in their family system to help them direct that energy, not at themselves or at others, but at a caregiver or onto paper or in lots of places. But with a Chief or Two embodiment coach, it's possible to be witnessed, to see, yeah, that's a really tragic story and you've been through it, and then here I am, and now we can maybe try some supportive services and finding your body and moving through it in different ways. So that's Runny Egg. And then, so that was the first training group, and then I went away and I did some other things, and I worked in the pharmacy for a long time and prepared myself to have a baby for several years. I was working up to it. And then I had a baby. Right as I decided to do another training group, because things had developed more with the Chief or Two training. So in 2021, in October, I started that second training group, and then my daughter was born a month later. So I got to do some womb stuff and then move through the first 2 years of her life in the Chief or Two training group. So it was pretty cool and intense.
Wow. I got to see you pregnant.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't know
that's where I met
Yeah.
Cass.
Really? Were you guys in the same
We
group?
were in the same group that
Okay.
time. Yeah.
We have some interesting dynamics here because
Mm-hmm.
I was actually Fred's trainer and training for his group. So anyway, just interesting.
So interesting. Yeah, it's been so cool to see Cass grow a human.
Yeah, Matilda's 4.
She's 4 now.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
4 years.
We know each other. That's wild.
Wow.
Do you have anything else to share about your journey?
No, it moves so smoothly into yours. So let's do it.
Her?
Cool, guys. Well, it was around 2017 or 2018 when I needed help with lots of things. I needed a therapist, and I had heard of the Link Counseling Center that did discounted therapy, like therapy I could afford. And I went to them and I said, okay, like I'm looking for a therapist. I'm an artist. I'm queer. I need someone who can hold all of this. And they recommended Dee Wagner. And so, yeah, I started going to her office, crying a lot. It was, those big relational dances I was having trouble with, the putting my baby stuff on to my partner, needing mothering, also a history of eating disorder stuff. So she really helped me with that, and she would have me doing poses, and I didn't quite understand at all like what I was doing, but I did it, and it was very comforting. And eventually 2020 came, and I've been in the music industry for a long time and was looking for something deeper and more connective and raw and real. And I came across sound healing. So I was getting a certification in that, and that's when Dee invited me to come get certified in Chiefre 2. And so I was like, yes. And my whole body, I felt yes. And haven't looked back. I've been implementing this work in my sound healing experiences, coaching people, and I'm just so grateful. So that's a bit of my story.
That's good. I want to ask you about the words you said. In my whole body, I felt yes. How often do we get to... I'm curious as to that experience, because I don't remember the last time I felt that way.
Oh.
And I mean, obviously it's, everybody has their own, but how often do we get to feel that, and how do we regulate ourselves to feel that way? How do we hold spaces for our clients and to enable that?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, it makes me think of, obviously, the knowing no practice, and how sometimes it might be difficult for us to feel full body yes, because we say yes when we don't mean yes. And so, excuse me, I don't know what's going on. We say yes when we don't mean yes, and so our wires get crossed up like, okay, I actually don't know when I want to do something, because I'm just saying, well, this is my experience. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I am this person. So it's really helpful knowing no, just kind of being able to feel into just what it's like to turn your head from side to side, because that's like actually a weird sensation for my neck. Personally, because I'm always doing this.
Saying yes.
100%, yeah. So that's
Did it again.
I know! I'm working on it.
Well, that full body yes, I felt, it felt spiritually connected, and like I was really, reaching for something to help me feel better. And it just felt like, oh, thank goodness. Like, I can find something that like relieves me, and I can find tools and practicality in these practices. So when I thought, I was just seeking learning, and so it just felt so right in the moment. I just really trusted Dee so much, and I felt led by her. She felt like a mentor that I was searching for, that I didn't really know I needed. And yeah, that's where that yes came in. Like it felt very divine.
Yeah. I imagine it was loud.
It was loud,
and it was definite.
Yeah. Well, I just
good.
experienced saying yes to the sound healing.
Okay.
Like, so a year before, I was like, should I do the sound healing? Should I do tarot cards? I'm like, tarot cards. Should I do sound healing? Should I, really invest in this? Do I invest in this? And I was like, yes! And I was like, okay, tight. And also,
good,
like, with
good.
the pandemic, it was like, I'm experimenting now. This is a whole new world. We're all different now. This is a different world, and we're looking for healing literally with this pandemic. So it was just a no-brainer.
It's funny you say that. Well, it's real that you say that. There's kind of like a pre and post COVID that we all collectively share. right? And how we were affected. What happened on, what it was that, March the 17th, at least here, is when they finally shut everything down and sent everybody home. And so
St.
what were you
Patrick's
doing on the 15th and 16th versus the 18th and 19th and all of that year later on? And what TV shows did you watch, you know, that you probably wouldn't have? Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that was the big one.
And the decisions around, like, oh, this is not going to be that bad. I'll have this person I just met on the app last week stay with me, and then there's a whole Netflix documentary about how you spent 6 to 8 months with somebody that you didn't know. So you talk about COVID and how it still remains in our bodies. But then you add on our own familial, you know, impacts in terms of what our parents did and did not have and what they gave us, grandparents and so forth. Then you talk about history and how the experience of being a person of color, the experience of being a woman, the experience of being in various marginalized communities, how do we wake up with that every day? And how does that influence us in our two-person dances that we do and in our own nervous systems? So
In our movements.
I'm happy for Chief for Two to be able to help us navigate that.
So who is Chief for Two for?
The first response is everyone. That's the first word that comes to mind, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how do you then whittle that down, or how does someone that's listening say, I think I could use this? I think that if you've ever been curious about what drives you, if you've ever been curious as to what drives that aunt so-and-so that has this weird quirk, or this one word that triggers Uncle so-and-so, why is that the case? I think for me, it resonates in terms of providing more language to how we interact, how we feel, why we feel what we feel, the fear. Like, just as an example, I shared with somebody about how growing up, we got dressed to go to the doctor's office. Now, when I say dressed, I'm not, regular random clothes. No, like some of the nicest, right? And it was just like, well, what is that about? And then you learn about how historically, there was if I look a certain way and I dress a certain way, just because I look this way, my clothes will maybe help me be able to earn the same kind of customer service that the next person gets, and that kind of thing. I don't even think about it. I just put on clothes, right? And so it's kind of like, well, what if you're ever curious as to kind of why you turn on all the lights at night when you go downstairs for a glass of water or something, like, even if something as small as that, I think Chief for Two enables you to kind of learn a little bit more about what drives you and drives the people around you.
Awareness.
Yeah. That sounds like, that waking up. Mm-hmm. Because maybe you've done that for a while, but there's a moment when you're like, wait, I'm waking up and I'm noticing that is happening, and I have a why, and I might want some help with somebody catching that and helping me with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it, Fred. And I kind of feel like my thought is similar but different. Like, you were talking, and you tell me if I'm getting this, more about, like, if you're curious about your relationship with the world. I was thinking more like curiosity in your personal relationships, because I think that oftentimes, at least for me, for clients, and I think it can be both, of course, but they're coming to me because there is something that is happening in the dynamic between them and someone else that is really awakening some of that stuff, like you said, and helping them to realize, oh, okay, like, this person is supposed to be my elder, kind of like what happened with me. My mom is a fantastic elder now, but because of her trauma, I was like, this person's supposed to be my elder, and they're falling apart, like, and so kind of maybe having some of that energy and not knowing who to bring it to, and being confused by that, because oftentimes we don't bring it to the right person in terms of the power differential within the relationship. We're bringing it, sometimes it goes downstream if you have children, towards your children, or it goes towards your partner. So I think both things.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they knowing who to bring your stuff to is really important. And also I'm really grateful for Chief 2 training more, helping professionals, and just people who are often in, because pretty much everybody is, often in relationships where there is a built-in power differential. And there is somebody downstream from you in terms of like the chain of support. So if I'm talking about, being able to turn up and move up the chain of support to a therapist or a caregiver or a parent and push into them when something doesn't feel okay. And then, whoever, and then being able to turn and go to the generation younger than you, or if you have employees at work or something like that, and being able to allow them to push into you, so that there can be a free flow of energy and nobody feels stuck. Everybody knows where to go. Chief 2 is training not just therapists, not just not any particular profession, anyone who wants to know how to navigate those relationships better to help heal our world, because all the way up the chain of support, like what should be a chain of support, we have people who are in positions of power that do not know how to catch, don't even know that they ought to more ideally be able to catch the next generation. Yes. Instead, there's energy flowing down to the youngest generation, or marginalized populations, and the things that are coming out of people are, in terms of Chief 2 and therapy and understanding awakening movement expressions and multi-generational trauma, they're all understandable, but there's got to be a place for them to go that doesn't harm themselves or others. And ideally, that's the chain of support.
Yes. Shout out to you, Cass. Not only for Running Egg, but for the listeners. You will heard Cass say chain of support. She is leading our transition. When we applied Chief 2 for business, oftentimes you'll hear something called the chain of command. That's the normal vocabulary we have in corporate America in terms of how we interact with one another. It was Cass's work with Dee that enabled us to develop the concept called chain of support. And as you heard her say, it is a matter of knowing where your energy goes. Is it a necessary safe share with a peer, or is it actual energy you're throwing to someone that can catch it? So then you have employers that might need a Chief 2 to be able to handle employee conflict. You have principals that might, school principals that might want to come learn Chief 2 to handle teacher conflict or student conflict. Or if you're the principal, might have to play grandmother with a parent and a student, right? So nurses, doctors, with their bedside manner and or how they deliver tough news. You've got lawyers that are dealing with people's lives every single day. As the spouse of one, I am aware how not only do lawyers' nervous systems themselves get triggered with everything they have going on, as a lawyer, they are often in that mother role that the client wants them to fix something or change something, or they have to hold space for the client. So those professions are ones I definitely would say could use it, certainly.
But all the way up the chain, even, beyond like schools, going up to administrators. Absolutely. Or other businesses going up to board members, and how you structure that. Just because you're the person bringing the money, does that mean that you're the person catching everybody's energy? Or does that mean you're trying to boss everybody because you're doing, so that's restructuring things in terms of the energy flow and what is most ideal for people's nervous systems. How can we have more trauma-informed leadership and servant leaders that make regenerative businesses, ones that can continue and not get everybody burnt out and miserable and shut down?
Shoot.
How do you follow that up, right?
I know. That feels like a great way to wrap up this first episode.
I agree.
Yeah.
And we can let listeners know what's to be expected in future episodes, what we're going to be talking about. We'd really love to dive into movies, music, that kind of stuff too.
Maybe a little reality TV.
Yeah.
To talk just through how we see Chief 2 in the world, and or we see the opportunity for it, and maybe how if these people had it, they might interact differently. So.
Right. And this is a new language, so if you're listening and you're thinking, what are they saying? That is completely normal. And the more you listen, the more you'll understand.
Visit us at chifortwo.com, CHIFORTWO.com.
DM on Instagram and email us directly. I mean, we're available as individuals as well.
Yeah, Instagram is Chi for Two Trauma Healing.
I'm Chelsea Szegidewicz. Probably not helpful because you have no idea how to spell that, but that's Szegidewicz, Szegidewicz.
I'm Fred Shelton, as it sounds, and you can find me on Instagram. I look forward to connecting with everyone.
I'm Carly Sackellares, similar issue to Chelsea. It's Sackellares, and yes, agreed.
Cas Pryor. I'm on chifor2.com.
That's what's up.
That's where I'm at.
Should we finish with a Chi for Two practice where we put our hands on
Yes.
to the side?
Great,
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Push into each other to strengthen our social engagement system functioning.
That's what we're doing. Let's push into each other to
Yeah.
feel each other.
We're actually doing
Nervous
this in
system
person.
Regulation. Never done it in
Oh,
person.
I
It's
know,
always
we
been on
only
Zoom,
ever
right?
do it on Zoom.
Nice.
Yeah, we're on each other's side.
We are.
Able
Bringing
to
Chi for Two to the world.
feel what is not us, so we can find us.
That's right.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
everyone.
Catch you next time.